again, I can't stress that enough. At the end of the day, anything AI is still a software project. It's still an implementation. So the principles that govern good implementations should not be thrown away just because now, ChatGPT or Copilot says that they can do it all. So in terms of privacy, in terms of data governance, in terms of data hygiene, if nothing else, it has put a bigger burden or emphasis on those things because without that, you're not going to be able to leverage anything AI. So the maturity model actually shows you um, at what point can you take advantage of what kind of opportunities in AI. Because again, it is not as straightforward as the marketing from these companies might, tell you. We have a question. Do you see it?
We do from
Yeah.
Lindsay. Thank you so much for joining us today. Do you want to read it? You want me
Go ahead.
to? You got
Yeah.
it?
You read it.
Okay. All right. So I can't see the top of it because it says hi. Okay. As a former finance advisory board chair for the city of Largo, I'm excited for ICMA 2025 in Tampa. In your view, how can mid-sized cities best evaluate consulting and vendor partners to ensure transformation efforts deliver both value and transparency? That's a great question, Lindsay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think the first thing to do is to make sure that they're truly unbiased, right? If you're looking for a consulting partner, you need to make sure that they're consulting on in your best interest, that they don't have any biases or reseller agreements, or they don't particularly sell a specific thing. Because in our experience, then it becomes the only prism or the only lens that they look at you through, right? So the number one thing to do is to see if the consultant is truly unbiased, truly third party, because even within that, there are several flavors of consulting where you can claim to be independent, but at the same time, you may have another arm or a subsidiary that does work only with Workday or only with SAP. So those are just some examples. And for mid-sized cities, the choices are pretty good actually, right? Because your problems are substantial enough for consultants like us to really get interested in your work. And the key question is, what are you trying to solve? And if the consultant isn't helping you sharpen your question on what the outcomes should be from this project, then you're not talking to the right consulting group, right? Because the number one thing is, even when we respond to RFPs that have a very skinny or vague scope, we're like, what problem is this organization trying to solve? And when we get into a Q&A or when we get a contract with those organizations, that's where we go. I know you said you want a software product evaluated and selected, but let's back up and tell me why you're doing this now and what the key pain points are. So that doesn't happen unless the consultant is a true consultant that can really talk to you through an unbiased lens without trying to sell you a specific thing, because the outcomes are the universe of outcomes that can come from a transformation project are it's very large. So how do you nail it down to your outcomes? How do you nail it down to your vision? How do you nail it down to your budget and legislative sort of environment? All of that is very important before you even talk about a product. So I hope that answered your question. A very good one. Thank you so much, Lindsay.
And Lindsay, I would say too, just client references. I think clients will tell you the truth about the work that any consultant has done. So asking for references, I think, is always good as well to get to get it straight from the horse's mouth, if you will, about the work that they do. So I think references is a good one.
Let me add one more thing.
AB,
The
oh,
partnership
go ahead.
aspect of this is critical, right? What we say to our
Mhm.
clients is our three unique things are we're nimble. We'll move at your speed and sometimes bring you along to our speed. So we can change how we approach. It's not a cookie cutter approach. We will tailor an approach to you. Second thing is we are independent. Like I said, we don't advocate for any of the vendors. Not that we're adversaries. We have good relationships with them, but our interest is in getting you to your desired outcome. And then the third thing is we're in it with you. We treat this as a partnership. We are very careful about who we choose to work with. And if it's not a two-way partnership, if it's not us working as an extension of your organization, then it's not a good fit. It's not going to give you the outcomes that you desire. So, a partnership, working in partnership, and always being transparent and providing good feedback, timely feedback to each other is absolutely critical. But it's hard to determine that just through an RFP process or through a short project. So, but we've been successful at doing that.
Yes, ICMA is a great place to vet your
Yeah.
vendors, especially in the vendor hall. I will say we're not ones to be awkward in the vendor hall. We do like having conversations. We might be doing a little bit of whiteboarding this year, just to make it more comfortable. But a vendor hall is a great place to start building those relationships and understanding what those service offerings are from vendor partners. So back to AI, Lindsay, thank you for your question. That was a great question. Um, I love this idea, about failure as a strategy. How can cities, counties, municipalities, how can they get more comfortable about piloting an AI product?
Um, you need to do small things, right? Like I said, with the whole overtime tracking application that we're piloting, it's a small thing. It doesn't impact anything else. It doesn't impact the city's ERP system, their payroll system, none of that. It's just solving the one problem that takes three people 3 whole days to tackle manually, right? Can be done in an automated fashion right away. So starting small, trying different things, not putting a lot of your assets and resources into the same basket or same project as you try AI products and applications out is really important because just like any product implementation, if it goes wrong, uh, you can derail a whole organization by trying something big that is not ready for prime time yet. So starting small,
Right.
getting the product to prove itself, making sure it's getting the right results, and again, getting you closer to your outcomes, which may be several and varied, right? You may want to make things more efficient. You may be in a budget crunch. You may be thinking of reallocation of resources and human resources. So, what is the thing that you're trying to achieve through this pilot project? Defining that upfront is critically important. Understanding your maturity, whether or not you are mature enough to take on this kind of project in terms of your policies, processes, people's readiness to even try things. I know most people are
Mhm.
trying GPT on their own, but you need to make sure that there are policies around that, what people are allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do with your data. All of that is important as you define what the outcome should be. And then pick a small pilot. Pick a small pilot. And my talk at ICMA next week is about using technology to build trust in the public, because what we're finding is there's an expectation gap, right? You're you
Mm.
want your local government, when you have to deal with them, to work like Amazon. Your permits should be visible to you. The state of the status of the permits. What information do you need to give them? All of that needs to be transparent. And so when you're dealing with Amazon or Tesla in the commercial side in your private lives, or iPhones, things work so easy. And then you go try to get something done in the public sector, and the expectation gap is huge. So how do you use technology to leverage that? It's a great time for the industry to really think about how do you use AI enabled products or AI enabled services to bridge that gap, to leapfrog the investments and the time spent by these large companies to get to that point, because it's not overnight. But with the use of AI, you could save some time as you try to get there. And you may never get to an Amazon level of service, but that's okay. You need to just close the gap on where you are today. So that's going to be my talk on Wednesday the 26th in Tampa at 9:15. Megan, yeah, I think it's
Nine
9:15. Yeah,
9:15.
look me up.
Early.
I'll be there.
Look, you want to talk new solutions and innovations from our side? Are you ready?
Yeah,
Ready for the soft launch?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've kind of talked about it briefly, right? Our approach to
Mm.
our approach to consulting needs to change. There's several things happening in the market. One is, the traditional route of helping clients um, produce and release RFPs. It takes too long, and it's
Yes.
yes, there is lots of value in slowing things down and making sure they're done right. But if the time is being spent on manual stuff, on manual business process mapping, on manual requirements definitions, on manual back and forth with subject matter experts, that's what takes a lot of time. The time and material aspect of it is what takes a lot of time. So what we are doing is we're trying to turn that around. Again, like I said, the intent is not to kill the consulting uh, heart that we all have, where we're in this because we like helping people, and that can't go away.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the manual workarounds and in the work that we do can be easily automated. So we're not being uh, cavalier about it. We've actually really built our in-house um, systems that can allow us to use our own intelligence from over 10 years that will be available to our clients. So two or three ways of looking at it. One is we can offer the same services at a higher quality, definitely at a faster pace. We can get you from strategy to RFP in a shorter time, and using our own data sets help you do a more data-based selection process, right? Data-enabled selection process. Um, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that the products you select are defensible, that they're not being picked because of feelings. Of course, you have to
Mm-hmm.
have your personal preferences built in. So our own tool sets will enable us to do this in a much faster, higher quality way. And I can't wait to actually launch it. We can start soft talking about it, right? And then
Right.
the other thing is uh, micro SaaS. Again, what is it that the major players would never get to, right? Some little workflow that someone built 20 years ago that does a very important thing, but no one wants to modernize it. It sits on a small server somewhere, and big players are not interested. I mean, they may be interested, but they'll ask you for a lot of money to customize something like that.